George, do you have any comments, or you want the auditor?
Madam Chairman, I believe our auditors are in the audience and may wish to speak or may not. I'm not sure.
Good afternoon. I'm Yvonne Clayborne with the Bray, Beck and Koetter CPAs. I'm the audit director on this engagement. I was asked to come here today to provide a status update on the audit progress. Unfortunately, at this point, we are still waiting on capital asset information from the district. Because the potential is that the capital asset information may affect how transactions have been recorded between the recreation fund and the shopping center fund, we can't even provide you with status by fund. I can tell you that the recreation fund, as we see the financial statements right now, had more revenues than expenditures. I cannot tell you where the district falls related to budgeted appropriations versus expenditures, again, because there's the potential that the information that we're waiting on will change how transactions are recorded between the funds. We are concerned at this point that we are approaching a critical point. It takes time once we receive that last bit of information to, one, substantiate it, because again, we can't just accept what is provided to us on its face value. We have to substantiate the accounting records that support those numbers. We need time to prepare that. We need time to make any final adjustments to the financial statements, which at this point are in working process. We've started putting numbers to paper, but we're not putting anything final because we don't know whether or not the numbers are going to change. And we haven't been able to finalize management letter comments. Our concern is that we get time to get this information to the district. The district has to prepare their annual financial report, which also needs to be reconciled to the audited financial statements. And then the information has to be presented to the Board of Trustees and approved and delivered to the Auditor General prior to September 30. You have 1 year to submit your financial statements. We're getting very concerned that we're really approaching a point where it's going to be pushing it to get that information to them. Because of the phone calls made to the Auditor General, again, your financial statements, and because of the delivery timeline that the Auditor General, they look at all the financial reports, but again, they may take a particular interest in the district. So again, we need to be very conscientious when we're putting this information together that we've given them as complete information as possible. As part of this process, again, concerns that we're having is we have to continue to read board minutes up until the time that we complete our field work. So again, we're still reading council minutes as part of our audit of September 30/05. At this point, we're concerned because the board is still being presented with bank statement information and not financial information. If you remember from the September 30/04 audit, one of our comments has been without financial information, financial reporting information of budget versus actual expenditures, this board cannot make a determination on whether or not they're in compliance with their budget and thereby with Florida statutes. This continues to be a concern. And again, without us being able to provide timely management letter comments to the district is not having appropriate amount of time to react to clear those management points. So again, at this point, it's safe to say that what you'll see in September 30/05 is what you're going to see in September 30/06 as management letter comments, including the timeliness of bank account reconciliations, which again concerns our firm because our experience with September 30/05 was that while checks written was being captured in the accounts payable module and checks received by the district were being recorded in various places in the modules. What wasn't being captured in the financial reporting was wire transfers, and you'll know that a lot of the money that you receive now comes directly into the bank account via wire. So that financial reporting, we're afraid, is not being captured in the district's general ledger currently. So again, the status of the audit is we're waiting on the district for information. This is information we've been asking for since I think our first request went out in October or November? November of '05. Was on the original information request list that was submitted to the district. The capital asset information is always on our information request list. So in greater detail, we've been requesting the capital asset information since March,
Who have you been requesting that from?
directly from the district manager.
And why haven't you received it?
May I?
Yeah, George.
We put together a report. It was submitted, I believe, last week or the week before. However, it has proved unsatisfactory to the auditors. It was not in sufficient detail for their liking, so they met with me yesterday and gave me the additional instructions, and we will have it to them by Friday of next week.
Does that meet with your approval?
Again,
Would you like it sooner?
we would like it in detail that we can audit, and it's not to our preference. It has to be in a format that, one, we can substantiate financial presentation, and that we can substantiate the expenditures and their recording. So it's not a preference. It's what's required.
Okay. Have
May
you told him everything you want him to do in detail?
Yes, ma'am.
In writing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If I may amplify on that, there are two common ways to calculate depreciation in fixed assets. One is straight line calculation based on individual items, and the other is a percentage. I realize that we use the percentage, and we use last year's percentage with growth factor, which is acceptable in some jurisdictions. The auditor's preference here is for straight line individual items, which total about 50, and which don't present a major problem. It's just time consuming to list them all individually. I don't believe the figures will be off more than a few $100s either way, because both calculations are normal and both calculations present somewhat of the same thing. So I don't expect anything to materially change over what they have now.
The statement actually needs to be clarified, because straight line is not what we're requiring. We're requiring them to follow generally accepted accounting standards, which says that depreciation needs to be allocated over the life, the estimated useful life of the asset, in a method that reasonably represents how the asset is being used. You can take a percentage against a cluster of like assets. However, the district did not demonstrate that they clustered assets by use. They took a percentage on all assets, whether it be golf course, whether it be operations administrative. You cannot cluster your assets. That violates generally accepted accounting principles. So again, we're not challenging the fact that it was a percentage. And we're not even telling you how to calculate depreciation. You have to select a method that falls under the guidance of generally accepted accounting principles, which it says you either do it by item, using a straight line, or an accelerated method that represents the life of the asset. And if you're going to cluster assets, you have to demonstrate to the financial reporting mechanism and to your auditors that that cluster meets all the rules that you can use for percentage allocation of depreciation.
Okay, do we have, anybody else have any questions for the auditor? No? Okay. Thank you, Yvonne.
Thank you.